Do you know what you need in your life, Garsar? You need a rogue friend.
I need a rogue and a pocket healer is what I need.
Yes.
Sorry to cut you off, but hey, it is August the 28th, 2024, and you know why you're here. So let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Jarazar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Hey guys, it's Big Moran, and I'll be the first to admit I have yet to play The War Within on the retail release. I have been playing on the beta though, so just a precursor to this conversation.
Oh God. Hey, I'm Trusab Jake, and I reject wholly the concept of Xalatos.
Oh my gosh.
Mm.
I've been seeing people tweet about that, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not that big a deal. Like, maybe people are overblowing it, but then I saw a cutscene where it's like, clearly the feet are like the main centerpiece of the shot, which is, I was thinking about this from like, because I do a lot of photography. And I'm like, if I wanted to photograph someone's feet, not that I would ever do that, but if I would, I could take some inspiration from some of these cutscenes. There's some good stuff in there.
There you go. There you go.
Just weird amounts of feet, unnecessarily. So I don't know why. I don't know why they've done that. Maybe Metzen has a secret foot fetish. Who knows?
Oh, God.
I'm not sure if that's actually Chris though. I don't think it's Metzen. That might be somebody else just in the video department. Like,
Yeah, but it's for story. It's the storyline. He's gone like, guys, in this story, we need more toes.
We need more toes.
Void, corrupted toes.
Is that a like a metaphorical way of saying that we're dipping our toes into the shadows, and then somebody took it like to the extreme?
The actual War Within is the ingrown toenail of Xalatos. Trying to get out.
Yeah, along with some toe jam. All right, well that's interesting. I've been seeing some things on social about that. I was like, okay, that's a little bit right up there with the pores, which apparently has gone. Some people thought it was funny, and some people found it not so funny, and now that's gone somewhat in a different direction. Let's just say, if you guys have heard that yet.
Yes, yeah, I've seen the memes.
It's so there's the memes, but then there's also a number of people that are advocating that is financial discrimination and making fun of people that perhaps don't have the monetary means to even have purchased, even if they wanted to. So
segueing into what we've been up to, I actually gave my Epic Edition code to a friend who couldn't afford the expansion. That's why I haven't been playing, is I had the Epic Edition, and I was like, someone else could probably use this. And so I gave it to a friend. And I saw that they nerfed leveling, I guess in dungeons specifically.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, because leveling is the thing I hate the most about new expansions, but apparently it's really easy. I've heard it doesn't take that long anyway.
No, it didn't, and really the nerf isn't that bad. I'm hearing.
Yeah,
it's pretty like so by nerfing the leveling, I think originally it was thought that because people were saying that it was pretty easy to go through the dungeons and whatnot, and now I'm not so. I should stop talking because I need to read into this a bit. But anyways, yes, leveling is really easy. Yes, the dungeons when you go in with the 480 gear from the pre-patch, it's not that hard, especially with all the scaling you have at level 70. You're pretty powerful. So, yeah. All right, cool. Well, how about since you haven't really been playing it though, when are you planning to actually get in there, Big?
This weekend probably. I'll do the grind because I know the season doesn't start for another week and a half anyway. So
yeah, it's the 10th.
not really in any sort of rush. It's kind of the nice thing. Like for me, I know people are kind of a bit annoyed that the season hasn't started or isn't starting for a while, but it's actually perfect for someone like me who hasn't even started leveling.
Well, and apparently there was some miscommunication, or some people that thought that season 1 PvP wasn't starting until like mythic raiding started and the LFR raids and stuff like that. So somebody misunderstood and was promulgating the wrong information. But you're right, it's on the 10th, so it's literally 2 weeks from now.
Yeah,
people are going to be well into season 1.
Yeah, no big deal.
Exactly. And Jake, how about you? How are you like? Really, what have you been up to? How many characters have you made to level 80 already?
Well, it's interesting. Unfortunately, my Epic Edition sort of landed pretty much on my birthday. So I'd kind of spent the sort of first I don't know however long, just kind of basically celebrating my birthday. So I couldn't just go, hey guys, I know you're all here to celebrate me, but what if, and I know this sounds kind of crazy, what if you all left and I just sort of spent the next 12 hours leveling all my characters on this game called World of Warcraft? I don't think I'd have many friends left. So I kind of decided I was going to focus on my real life, and I sort of kind of leveled my Shadow Priest a little bit here and there. Nothing too crazy, but cool. Just a little bit here and there. And I'm now currently on my warrior, so I've actually got the Shadow Priest 80.
Okay, cool. I'm surprised you didn't do like an IRL streaming where you're, like, the old school stuff where like, hey guys, I'm gonna go play. You just stand behind me and watch, right? And then,
what? I should have done that. But I don't think any of my friends are ready for that kind of level of commitment, and I don't think anyone's nearly gifting me as many of those Twitch primes for me to feel like it's worth the social suicide from that. So.
You need each of them to ask the same question every 5 minutes, just like going a circle around. All right.
Yeah, legit.
Well, on that, I got one character at 80. I got Jarrusar at 80, my warlock, and played him a little bit. And I got a shaman that I've been doing elemental in the PvE side, like just questing and healing, doing resto druid for dungeon spamming. So that was interesting. I didn't feel like there was really any point that anybody was in a serious point of dying, except for one. I think it was a warrior. Didn't dodge boss mechanic and just got one shot. It's like, okay. And then I had to like go through the spell book because I couldn't find the resurrection. Thankfully, the prop paladin had res and got him back up faster than I could find it. But that was that, and I actually streamed the leveling over on the old Technically PvP channel, not this one, the bonus roll one, but over there. So I think the VODs are probably going to be up there for another few days before they disappear. But yeah, okay. Well, I think Jake, it's your need greed pass this week, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes. I'm back in the hot seat. So let's talk about what I've sort of come up with.
Can I do the bumper first?
Yeah, sure. Actually, yeah. Yeah, please.
It won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
All right. And bumper done.
Ooh, it's almost like I feel like I haven't been here in a little while. So I completely forgot about the bumpers. But anyway, I'll tell you what isn't a bumper, these 3 options that I've chosen for today's episode. So I thought, obviously, with the War Within, we've gotten a new allied race to kind of come in with us and defend the world against the next new bunch of threats. And the sort of what I've kind of done is I've angled away, like, what if we had another option? Like, people often talk about how people are sort of desperate for some of the other extra races. Like in BFA, we eventually got, I think in Shadowlands, maybe the Volpera, that are able to kind of come in and be our heroes instead. So I thought, what about if we could choose some of the others from this expansion? What about if you could choose between the Nerubians, so like the Nerubian allies that we've got, the Arathi half-elves, so the kind of funky sort of human-looking ones, or the, and you'll have to forgive me, I cannot for the life of me remember what the name of the race is, but the kind of like shape-shifting trolls that we meet in Ashkahet, those guys as well. So I thought those are the kind of 3 options. What would you need, what would you greed, and which would you pass on?
Oh, this is hard. I'm actually big. I'm gonna throw it to you first because I had to think on this one for a bit.
Yeah, so as I said, I haven't played the expansion, so I'm just gonna go with my gut. I am going to need the Arathi half elves. I like elves in World of Warcraft, just in general. So that's gonna be my need. I'm gonna pass on the Nerubians. I've never liked Nerubians.
Really?
I don't know. I know they're supposed to be this like intelligent, species that live beneath the earth and battled the old gods or whatever they did. But I don't know. I just don't like spiders. Never liked spiders. And then so I'm gonna have to then greed on the shapeshifters, and that's my answer.
Interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna be a little bit different, just partially because I have to, and partially because I want to. So I'm actually going to need on the Nerubians because I feel like they could have some really cool racials, like maybe like a poison dart or something, or like do like a spider web for like a short route or something like that. And I feel like that could be pretty cool and pretty awesome for PvP. And then also, I kind of have in my mind of that general from Star Wars with like the 4 lightsabers going at the top, but have them have 4 swords or
Grievous.
something like that. Grievous, yeah. So I like to see that kind of thing. So I want to do that for a greed. And I'm actually gonna pass on the shapeshifters because if they're the ones I think of, you're talking about the one that was from one of the hype videos that they released, where she was doing the kind of troll looking person, and she crawled around and then started doing the heebie-jeebie dance to like cast something, and honestly that reminded me of the witch from Suicide Squad doing like the heebie dance to like spellcast or whatever, and it doesn't sit well with me. I don't like that. I don't know, it looks weird.
You get weirded out by the weird movement and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So just for that, I'm going to pass on that, which therefore I'm going to greed on Arathi half elves, which I think is pretty cool. I think those would be pretty fun. So yeah, so that's mine. But how about you, Jake? What are your out of your options? Which ones are you doing? Which are you picking?
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting one. So I mean, immediately, I don't like spiders IRL. I don't think anyone does. I think there's a few select people that really like spiders IRL. For me personally, I actually think they're really cool. I think the Nerubians have always been cool ever since Wrath. I've kind of wanted to be one in some form, maybe like a humanoid one. And we have sort of seen those. Spoilers for big, but you see some kind of more humanoid looking ones that are around. I think they are called the Ascended. You kind of it's sort of they're sort of humanoid enough that they would work in any of the forms or kind of like the frames, I guess, of how we put together the characters in this game. And I think that would be really cool, like a humanoid sort of ascended Nerubian that actually really works with the Alliance or the Horde. And I think that'd be really sick. So that would be actually my need. I would then, because I'm super bored of elves and humans in general, I never play these games to play those kind of characters. I like choosing funky stuff, sort of orcs and trolls and that kind of thing, and Tauren. I would actually choose the shapeshifters next because I think they look really cool, and I'm very keen to kind of see what they do. I love Avatar, and I think that's what they sort of remind me of a lot. So I would choose them, and I would pass on the Arathi.
By the way, they're called Heronir. Is the name of the race, yeah.
Interesting.
And it's been data mined as a possible allied race.
Ooh.
We'll see. Possibly a new race for druids. They haven't had a new race in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They had
Coltiran?
The Coltirans.
Yeah, back in BFA, that was 6 years. That was
Wake up, old man. BFA's a long time ago.
I mean, out of 20 years.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm just happy we got a new BG. I'm just happy we got.
We've
a new
had
BG.
can't Draenei be rogues? I'm pretty sure. Wait, hold on. Yeah, everyone can be a rogue. Rogue. Yeah, you can be Tauren rogue. Yeah. We got Draenei rogues before we got like another new druid race.
Another druid race. Yeah, I saw a Tauren rogue today called Invisible.
Oh, that's
Invisible. BUL, which is a great name.
That's a bully for them for pulling that off. All right.
Oh.
Dad jokes.
I think
dad jokes.
Yeah, I took a critical hit from that one.
Nailed it. All right. Why don't we? Well, just a reminder: those who are playing at home, by all means, give your opinions on what you'd like to need, greed, and pass on Jake's options for his scenario. But in the meantime, let's kick it into some PvP events and talk about what's coming up.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
All right, for upcoming PvP events, WoW Variety Show episode number 4 happening on the 31st. Big. Did you pay attention to this? Have you seen what they're doing this time around?
I have not, other than I saw Mortai is participating. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Good for Mortai.
I'm not sure if they closed the signups for it yet or not. But yeah, so I'll let you. Did you get it, or am I going to talk to it? Sorry,
I don't know. Yeah, I know nothing.
Okay, so WoW variety show. So as always, a variety show is a multiple events. It's not just like a tournament. It's not just MDI. In fact, this one is going to be. I think they're bringing in the general leveling one. So yeah, so just to confirm, signups were closed back on last Friday. They're doing a leveling race, so whoever can level fastest within a period of time. They're going to do a scavenger hunt, so they're going to have some clues, and people are going to have to run around the new zones and find things, which is going to be pretty cool. There's the Battleground Blitz, which is what Mortai, one of our previous guests and also a fan of the show, one of our friends, has signed up for and got picked, along with a number of other both amateur people that have signed up as well as professional people who will help out and make teams. And they also are going to have a game show, which will be paying homage to the Warcraft universe through a game show built on characters, items, abilities, experience, and more. Additional details to come. I'm guessing that this is going to be similar to those little things they do during the breaks for the esports. Like you guess what this spell is and they blank a part out, or guess who this character is. Guess what, that stuff. And then last but not least, they're going to have a fast draw duel, which is the fan favorite of draw and guess side activity, revamped with the Warcraft words theme to fit with the War Within. So that'll be pretty interesting to watch and see what they do there. So hopefully you got enough signups. Should be a fun thing to watch. That's going to be this weekend, again on the 31st. And I guess the next one, I just want to point out, so the WoW 20 community, if anybody doesn't know what this is a community for people who play on the free side of WoW, that initial level 20 experience. And over there, Embu is coordinating for, I want to say it's the 8th of September, where they're going to celebrate the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft over in Orgrimmar and Stormwind. This is EU region only, and they're going to try to get everybody to make a shape of the 2 and a 0 for the 20th anniversary and WoW 20. And then it's going to follow up with a fun little game of PvP battles. So probably some duels or something like that. But that should be a pretty fun go. So if anybody's interested for that, we have a link for their Discord server in the show notes. And just for funsies, I'm going to drop that into Twitch chat right now. So it'll show up also as well. So there's that. And that's about it for the events that we know of. Again, if you know of anything going on, please let us know and we'll happily shout it out in our future episodes. But let's get to the subject of analysis and actually talk about the War Within.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
Alrighty. So the War Within. First thoughts. What do you guys think?
Well, shall I? I'll weigh in and allow Big the opportunity to think of something to say. I think so far there are a few things that I really like about it, and there are a few things that I don't like about it, but they're very few in comparison. In general, the leveling process has been very easy, which for me, when you think about the modern game, is vital, because actually the modern game hasn't got a focus on its journey. Its focus is the end game. We all play for the end game. What keeps us locked in is Mythic Plus or PvP, obviously for us, specifically PvP, but it's that end game that kind of really locks us in. So actually being able to get to it where it's actually at its most fun is great. And actually the leveling has been fast. So even if you're doing the campaign, I think the campaign gets you to about 77. I got to 78 because I did a couple of dungeons in between and everything like that. It's ideal. You're there and then you just do a couple of dungeons to get all the way through. And it took me like sort of 4 or 5 by the end to get myself basically to the end point. And it was ideal. So the leveling for me has been really, really good. Anything else, dungeons wise, I think the dungeons are really small and short, which also feels really good because those long dungeons that we've had before are just painful. So that all the dungeons feel really short, and that's another really big bonus. But otherwise, just in general, the story feels good. I feel like I understand the story. Like I'm not just sort of like, going, oh yeah, haha, Alex Strauss just suddenly remembers she's from this sudden, this place that no one else remembers, and all the dragons kind of like have got their memories back and stuff like that. It actually makes sense. Like there's a link to something that's happened in the past, and it's really, really cool. So in general, so far, I feel very, very positive about that, and I've enjoyed the gameplay as well.
Cool. Big. What's your take?
Yeah, so I've spent the greater part of the past few months playing on the beta, and I think from a class design perspective, hero talents are definitely very interesting and very fun. And I think hero talents are probably, at least from the PvP side, the most important addition to the game. And there is, though, I think some discrepancy in terms of, strength of different hero builds versus other hero builds. I think, what we typically saw in the beta is that specs usually have one standout hero talent build, and the other one's like, maybe not that great, or kind of situational, a bit more niche. Mm-hmm. But I do like that the hero talents seem to sort of enhance something inherently cool about a spec. As far as like the gameplay is concerned, it does feel very similar to Dragonflight, certainly. Yeah. I mean, it's not like we've taken a radical shift from the previous expansion to this one. I think more than anything, it's kind of like it took what was good about Dragonflight and kind of enhanced what was good with hero talents, and even maybe it enhanced what was kind of bad with Dragonflight. That's a whole nother conversation, with AoE abilities and whatnot. But overall, I mean, I'm pretty optimistic, especially, to piggyback off of what Jake was saying. Not only is leveling easier, but also the gearing process for PvP seems to be streamlined even more. Don't quote me on this, but I believe there's no longer going to be sparks required to craft gear for PvP. Instead, you'll just need the PvP specific currency. So the idea behind this is if you are a player who enjoys both PvE and PvP content, you'll be able to create gear with the crafting system simultaneously for both. So that's really nice. So yeah, I think the game is clearly streamlined players to reach the destination quicker and more efficiently, and I think that's good for the modern version of the game. I know kind of the appeal of Classic is completely different, and I think now it's very clear that these are two different games. WoW and Classic WoW are two different genres within the MMO space, and so this sort of modern, streamlined, polished game, I think, is really good for sort of players who would be playing retail anyway.
Yeah, you have a good point there. Definitely the gearing is streamlined for sure. I know there's people that are fully honor geared already, just because, you know, for those with early access, obviously they had access to the comp stomp, which had some interesting scaling to it, but was still winnable. And so a lot of people were just not able to farm honor there, and especially Monday night when the game went live and the honor count went back up to 15,000, then people were able to just quick farm and cap out on honor gear. The world PvP stuff, this is one that I found a little bit weird, is so for the blues, you can only get that. It's not on the vendor. You can only get it from world quests. So there's a little bit of RNG behind that, which I'm not totally happy with, because I know for the honor gear on the vendor is not all stat iterations, which I found a little bit odd. But as far as just kind of going back to the leveling, I'm going to agree with you there, Jake, and both with you, Big, that the leveling was really, it felt easy. I didn't feel a threat at all. Like, I didn't feel at any time that I was at threat of dying, unless I forgot, like, you know, unless I like hopped off my mountain, my blueberry wasn't around, and I like dotted up 8 different mobs and they all came crashing after me. I was like, oh, and then, you know, just do a quick Shadow Fury, and then I was able to summon the Void Walker, and then everything was okay. So I wasn't too worried about that, really. Which I have to admit I'm a little choked at, and I feel like it's probably because I had I was just wearing the 480 gear. I was wearing the pre-patch stuff, and I felt like that was kind of cheating, because I didn't really start replacing that until I was 75 or higher, and again, like, so that meant like the first 4 or 5 levels was just mindlessly running around and just doing quests. So at least I was able to focus on the reading of the quests and that in the storyline. I agree. The questing and the storyline felt really good. The side quests were great. I ended up getting caught down those rabbit holes a few times, and then all of a sudden realized that I dinged and I almost like leveled out of a zone before finishing the campaign section there. So that was something. I do like the fact that this time around, so your first character, you start on the Isle of Dorn, you go up through the levels, you do the campaign. As you move up in levels, you get onto the next zones, and the zones are actually leveled areas, right? So it's like 70 to 73, 70 or 72, 75, whatever, and then the last one's like 78, 79, 80. That said, is if you go back to the other zones, the mobs still kind of scale to your level. So if you're 78 and you go back to the Isle of Dorn, you're still fighting 78 mobs or ish, which I thought was pretty good. So I like that. It's not the previous where it was like, you know, no matter where you went in the zone, it all just scaled to you, and you could just that was a little bit too much. I appreciate the storyline kind of guiding you through that. And then when you pick up your alt, then you end up having the scouting map, and you can pick wherever you want to start as well, which was kind of cool. So it's kind of like a good match there between or kind of a follow-up of what they had with Dragonflight, right? Where Dragonflight, whenever you brought alts in, the first thing that is like, okay, here's a scout map, where do you want to start, and you can pick wherever. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I did like, dungeons felt good. The delves felt really good. Getting introduced to that followers dungeon right at the very the first couple levels felt really cool. I hope they fix the AI on Bran and on the followers, because there's some weird stuff that they do. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
I didn't notice one any, but I've heard some stuff is kind of funky.
Yeah, Bran like running all around. Yeah, he's my healer, and he's just running around trying to kill things, and everyone's all I see. You know, I see some pots get thrown in my direction, and I have to move, which sucks because I have to stop casting. I mean, yes, as a warlock, I'm casting Shadow Bolt, so there is some cast time. I know it's just ... run, but so that was kind of whatever. And yeah, the follower dungeons. I even tried. I put the tank as lead to run around, and he just kind of stood there waiting for me to do something. It's like, show me where to go. But yeah, that was. But I did like he did some of the neat tricks, like pulled a bunch of mobs and then pulled around the corner to lost them and get them to center up, and then we could all just start attacking him and stuff, the other followers. So all that, I think that was pretty good. I think, again, leveling experience was really good. I give it a pretty high score. And then storyline, definitely, I didn't get all the way through the camp. Well, that's not true. I got through the campaign far enough to get world quests. I think there's still a few more pieces of the campaign, especially now they've unlocked a couple more pieces. And I didn't finish the unlock of the, or get through all the quests as much as you can to start unlocking the Earthen. So there's still a few more quests I have to do there. Now, PvP. Let's get into the PvP stuff. So I want to speak first to Comp Stomp just because it was like the first thing that early testers could do, and a lot of people talked about that. Jake, I know you kind of started, you said you started late. Did you get to do any Comp Stomp?
I sadly didn't. I only finished leveling today on my Shadow Priest, so right. No, I haven't really kind of been able to do any PvP at all, actually.
Right. Okay. Sorry. And you said that, and I totally just asked you that question, which was redundant.
No. It's good to double check. It's good to double check.
So for those who don't know, Comp Stomp was there up until the reset this Tuesday, and it looks like the NPCs were all geared out for like full conquest or so, or for us to be full conquest. So they had like 8 to 10 million health, and they were like one-shotting people, which was a bit jarring for some people. But all that to say, it is still winnable, obviously, and still fun. Quick, easy grind if you wanted to do that. I know a number of people were doing skirms, just buddy up and do some skirms. And then this week, it was supposed to be Deep Wind Dunk, but we couldn't queue into it, so that wasn't working. I'm not sure they fixed that brawl yet or not. And I do know that some other people have been doing a number of other especially the epics where you have NPCs. So Alterac Valley, they really beefed up the NPCs, so you can't just all run to the end and see who can nuke down the boss first. Same Isle of Conquest, the end boss will kill you if you don't do some of the mechanics or do avoidance and stuff like that. And the siege weapons won't just flop over, like they are beefy. So we're back to some actual like having to do game mechanics for the maps, and that, which I think is pretty good. And then I think obviously just regular rest of the BGs are regular BGs. It depends on the gear of the people you're playing it with and against, and all that. Obviously, it's only random BGs and epics because Battleground Blitz is now rated solo BGs, so you can't queue for it until Season 1 starts, and same with all the rest of the stuff. Now, I guess, Big, did you do any testing? I mean, I'm sure you did a bunch of skirms in that on the beta, right?
Yeah, I did a bunch of solo shuffle war games.
Okay.
Internally with a bunch of people, yeah.
Okay. I guess that's the other thing. Like, if people have players they can play with, they can do war games right now as well.
Yeah.
To at least get into that. I guess. Did you do any testing on any of the BGs on the beta?
No, not any of the BGs.
It's too bad. Okay. Yeah, I kept trying. I was unable to get it. I could never get it to start or get it to work for me. So, I know there's a number of people that are getting into it now. Because obviously the new BG's on the randoms, so it's showing up there, so that's kind of fun. And then I guess gearing, where should we go for gearing right now? I think Jake.
I think it's an interesting comment because although I haven't massively gotten into the yet, and I don't know quite what the honor grind is, it seems like the everything's like quite I don't know how the best way to put it is. I think everything is kind of loaded towards it being quite a long honor grind. So more reminiscent of kind of like other expansions, like earlier expansions, in fact, actually. I think the honor grind kind of reminds me more of a classic one, because they're like things do cost a lot more and you kind of need a lot more to kind of get them. So that's quite an interesting one. I quite like the idea that, we actually have something to do in this little period of time. for PvP, like get your gear up your like characters and everything. So I think the gearing system looks pretty good. I think the gems also look really good. Everything looks like it's kind of improved on what Dragonflight did and taking it kind of to the next level. So it's very exciting, at least from my position, my opinion. I think it's a really good. It's going to be a good expansion for gearing, and it has seemed really easy so far for us to do so. So
yeah, I think I think the best part too. I mean, the cadence of how you gear is pretty much the same as it was in Dragonflight, where you start the season with the honor gear, and then you gradually replace those pieces with epics. I don't remember, they changed how epics work in from World PvP, right? Like they removed one of the currencies. I don't remember what it was called.
So that was
the trophies.
Trophy Strife.
Yeah, so now I don't know the item level on World PvP gear, but I imagine it's slightly lower. It was like 3 item levels lower in Dragonflight, and it's probably still somewhat similar. So at least that gives you sort of like this in-between set of gear you can kind of collect while you're getting your conquest gear. I think the thing that's most appealing, though, is, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if this is true, the crafted tokens, or the tokens you need to craft pieces of gear, I believe cost the same amount of conquest as the piece you would purchase with conquest. So, and I think this is true. Like, say you wanted to buy your conquest helmet for like 2200 conquest, whatever it is. I believe now you can instead buy the tokens to craft a piece instead. And so I think you can sort of skip buying conquest gear entirely and just go straight to the crafted gear, which is kind of nice for some specs because, for instance, as a Resto Druid, I want to have as much haste and mastery as possible. And of course, gear is only going to have versatility and haste, or versatility and mastery. I can't have both haste and mastery on a piece of gear, so I can go craft that sort of immediately from the get-go, which is kind of nice. I do know also they're bringing back the free token from, it's either getting 1600 or 1800 in Arena. You'll get that tier token, which you can use to purchase a tier piece. I don't know how the creation catalysts work, or the conversion catalyst, whatever it's called, this expansion. I don't know how that works, but I assume it's going to be similar to how it worked in the past.
So,
don't quote me on that.
They did announce that, and the catalyst is actually going to come on the 10th of September with Season 1 start. And the only thing I'm not sure is if we get a charge immediately. I think we might, but then it's going to be recharging at recharging at the rate of 1 charge every 2 weeks. So if that's the case, then So same as the start of a Dragonflight, basically. No, I think that was like Season 3.
Oh, okay. Same as Season 3 of Dragonflight.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So everybody will have their 2 set by week 3, and then their 4 set, what's that, by week 7?
Something like that. I mean, the thing is, there's no vault anymore. That's something we haven't discussed yet.
True.
No vault, which, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna miss the vault or not miss the vault. Well, I mean, what do you guys think? I'm really indifferent about it. I could care less.
I mean, it was something always to look forward to. Like, I think it was an occasion. I know you still will technically have the vault, just not for PvP. It was something that you kind of look forward to a little bit. I mean, maybe that's just the indoctrination after, sort of 3 expansions of it, really, like, BFA, Shadowlands, Dragonflight. I've sort of kind of gotten used to sort of waiting until Wednesday and then you open your vault. And there's a disappointment, but actually, you know what? There's a little bit of a dopamine hit as well.
Yeah.
And that was quite enjoyable. But I suppose in this end, what it does mean is that if you really want to just do PvE, you don't have to pick between PvP and PvE. You can just pick the PvE option, which means that you're not stressed about that, or do I have to give up my PvE slot this week because I want to be good at PvP to begin with. There's a lot of aspects of it that I think is nice and good for that end game gameplay.
I can see a number of people still doing PvP or PvE these first couple weeks, especially when Season 1 starts. I can see people doing as high rating as they can get, pushing mythics to try and get some very high level tier gear, just until the catalyst gets enough charges that they can change up the PvP gear to tier, so it has that scaling up. But I mean, really, if you're able to raid at Mythic Plus or Mythic rating at the high enough level, I mean, really, you're going to be getting an equal amount of gear anyways. It's not like the PvP scaling is going to be that much different. If I'm not mistaken, they cap out at the same eye level, right? So I mean, I can still see people who really want to push it are still going to be raiding and whatnot just to get the access to that tier gear earlier and get those tier sets, get the tier set bonuses. So I mean, it's still there if they want to do it. I do like the fact that it's not a mandatory thing, you know, and not mandatory. I guess it's not a thing where if Jake happens to get lucky and get his weapon on the first vault, and I'm still trying to, you know, get just enough conquest to buy it, or you know, I didn't get it. I got, let's say, a chest piece, and it's like, okay, so then I buy my second piece for conquest, and then next vault I get a chest piece. It's like, well, thanks, Blizz. Right? That just feels bad. So I'm glad it's gone. I've always liked with PvP the deterministic gearing, that you know that if you cap conquest every week, that you are going to end up with you know, a full set after X number of weeks, because that's how the cost works. So
yeah,
I guess it's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was actually going to just we were talking about tier sets, and I wanted to talk about the tier sets because I think there's something very interesting about them. I don't know if if you guys have noticed anything about it at all, but I don't know if you noticed about this season 1 War Within tier set. Their bonuses are very small. Like it's minor.
That's something I believe that's intentional, because I think it was the same way. It was the same way in Dragonflight, where they sort of like power creep the tier set bonuses. But I do think that's a good thing that at least they're weak.
Yes, because, I agree.
Yeah, I think if there was a way to keep them weak from the, you know, on the PvP side the whole time, I think that'd be quite nice. Because, like, for instance, some specs in Dragonflight Season 3 were sort of like defined by their tier set, like Destro Warlocks, Demon Hunters. You know, they were Omega broken because they just had these like insane tier sets, which fortunately I haven't seen any tier sets from this first season that I've been like, wow, that's game breaking. They're just kind of like, oh, Rejuve heals 5% more. You know, it's something kind of like a very boring bonus, which I think is perfectly fine.
Yeah, and it's what it needed. I think they always wanted to kind of do something that would help PvEs, enjoy their specs more. Baking in more damage by 5 to 10% actually is really easy for them to balance. Should they feel as if one spec is performing better in PvP than the other, you can just nerf a tier set in PvP. That's a really good way of kind of helping with balancing. And I think that's the sort of thing that you've got. Like, I think when it was so wild in Dragonflight, and it was wild in other expansions as well. I'm fairly sure there was stuff in Shadowlands and BFA where things were just wild, and they were cool, but they were just so unbelievably wild that it was miserable. And obviously the flip side also is a thing. Like if PvP finds itself way too slow, they can buff certain tier sets, or they can buff them across the board, and all it does is ramp up the damage of some important stuff in the bait and the kit. The only thing I'll say is that obviously there's a disparity in some. I noticed. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the Elemental Shaman one is shocking. You get a buff to Earthquake, and then the 4 set increases your critical strikes. From what I can tell, I will just double check that again. But it's something along the lines of, here we go. Spending Maelstrom grants you 5% increased critical strike chance and 10% increased critical damage dealt. Now, obviously, that does work really well with Ellie's kit, but it just doesn't feel like it has the same kind of hit that the others do. So maybe it'll be really good with Skyfair and stuff like that, but it doesn't feel like across the board. Like if you were to buff that 4 set, for example, Like you just increase the critical strike chance. So I think it's an interesting concept. I think they should just kind of hopefully across the board find a way that will be easy to balance everything.
Well, that does feel kind of bad, and I'm glad you brought that one up, because in PvP, crit strike is already nerfed, right? So even if you get a critical strike, you're not even getting the full damage that you would in PvE. I just want to also add so in Dragonflight Season 1, the tier bonuses were pretty good, but they were nerfed in PvP. Season 2, Season 3, I don't think they were nerfed as much. I actually don't remember them having PvP tuning to them. So
I think they always had 50% modifiers.
Okay.
On almost everything.
Okay, I knew they did that for Season 1, but I don't remember them doing that Season 2, 3. And then Season 4, I have no idea, because they just copy pasted the previous seasons, right?
Yeah.
So if they did, then okay, that whatever. I do like the fact that the numbers aren't quite as grandiose, but at the same time, like, our numbers are so huge. Like, we're millions of health, we're doing millions of damage. So like 5% on a million is actually still, like, it's a pretty big number. Is it like, you know, another like, what's that work out to, if you do damage mitigation, that might be like 2% of a person's health, maybe not even, right? Because it's 5% of damage. So depending on what you're doing, like, you might tickle a person extra. So
Jake was talking alluded to, like, the pacing of the game, and that was one thing that was quite evident on beta, is that the game is slightly slower, at least in solo shuffle. And I noticed this. So the way you play solo shuffle as a Resto Druid is very straightforward in terms of when you use your tree form. You basically use tree form immediately, like when the fight starts, and then 2 minutes later, roughly 2 minutes later, you have it back up, and you use it immediately again. Like, that's how you pretty much play Resto Druid in solo shuffle.
Okay.
And usually in Dragonflight, that second tree form, which typically happens at around the 2 minute mark of the game, that was like when the game was like about to end. It was like, okay, I hit my second tree form, gonna win.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you felt. On beta, it wasn't like that. On beta, I would hit my second tree form, and then the game would like linger on for like a minute longer. So it's like games are at least at the high level slightly longer than they used to be, which it was initially a bit jarring, because it's like, wow, like, I kind of have to maybe rethink how I'm pressing my second tree form. But this was a consequence of them buffing HP pools on the beta. Yeah, because there's the Mythic Plus problem where people are just getting one shot. And so the solution was, it's kind of it's a complicated problem. They wanted healers to feel like they needed to heal again. I mean, that's kind of been something that the healer community has been echoing in PvE, is like, well, I don't really heal. I prevent someone from dying every few seconds, and then I go back to doing damage. So they kind of wanted healers to perform this sort of traditional triage role that they typically do. Anyway, I'm yapping. They buffed HP pools, and that seemed to make games a bit longer. I mean, there of course there is a few instances on the beta where things were just like one-shotting. It was kind of like, I don't know, Destro Warlocks were bugged for a little bit. Frost DKs were a bit absurd on the beta for a while. They were one-shotting. But the game definitely does feel a bit slower, I guess, across the board, which I know the people kind of have mixed feelings about that. Slow is nice because it means you don't get one-shot as much, but slow is also not so nice because it just means games tend to linger. And so, I don't know, do you guys have like a preference? Do you guys like prefer fast games or slow games? Like, if you had your perfect arena game, how would the pacing be?
It's a very interesting question, I think, Big, because I have PTSD from two different expansions in which things were very different. Like, BFA had this incredible slowness that then eventually went fast. And then you got Shadowlands, which was quite rapid. And then also, obviously, Dragonflight was quite rapid. And I think I found myself in a slower pacing. Yeah, the games were long, but I felt as if like I kind of came out of them like I've been playing a strategy game. Like I felt like, okay, yeah, I've planned this. I know what cooldowns are coming, and I've been able to kind of, plan appropriately. In Shadowlands, you'd get randomly one-shot by some weird proc that just didn't make any sense. And I know that kind of happened also in BFA, but there was a sort of slowness that by the end of it, like when you had this sort of, most people were running Gushing Wounds. Gushing Wounds was just a way to roll the damage on quicker. So it kind of brought the games to a close. And even when it was there, still the games were kind of long anyway. You had time to sort of plan out stuff and figure things out. But in Shadowlands, I felt like I was getting one shot by random procs, and in Dragonflight, like you could just get exploded. And although that's really, really fun to do the explosion, sometimes it was just kind of like it was just a gimmick. And I'm happy to say I was part of that problem because I played a comp that was all about gimmick. Like you would literally one tap someone by just CCing 3 people, and my Frost Mage just blew people up with Frost Bomb and full mastery Frost and everything. It was just kind of just a massive amount of damage where they just went from 100 to 0 in about 0.5 seconds. And that was kind of it. And that sort of thing is fun and it's cool to do, but it sort of doesn't really like offer any counterplay a lot of the times. And I think that's why people tend to sort of go back and forth. There's no real right answer, I think. I don't think you could ever say there's a right answer. It's all preference. And I think for me, I kind of want something that's in between BFA and in between Shadowlands, where you've got that really nice pacing where you can kind of do like a really quick one shot in the way that RMP was able to sort of like lock people up, and then just you could kind of take your hands off the keyboard and say, yeah, I've messed up. I've got no trinket. I'm dead here. Like, it's coming. You can see the strategy and sort of like kind of going, well played, good sir. I tip my fedora towards you. And that's that. As opposed to sort of like the Ret Paladin suddenly gets a proc, presses Wake of Ashes, and suddenly sort of just all your health goes. Like that didn't make sense to me. So I kind of want something in between, something that's sort of balanced in the way that the games can last a period of time should they wish, but also gives the opportunity for you to perform one shots if you've got the damage and you've got the kind of strategy down.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I like games that are about up to 7 minutes max. Like after 7 minutes, like that's just too long. I'm old. I can't keep up to that. As far as like damage roll in that, I do like it when there's at least a little bit of pausing or between stuff, so you can kind of see it happening. You can maybe react to it. I find some of these like somebody that pushes like the Swifty macro and just blows you up. Like you have no idea what just happened, until you get really situated in the game and understanding everything. But if a person's just a casual player or is just like having fun and playing some PvP, like you don't learn from that. It's really hard to learn from that, and I find at least like for mechanics and the counter mechanics, that is just you can't counter mechanic that, so that just doesn't feel fun. Sure, it feels fun doing it, but it doesn't feel fun receiving it, and it's hard to learn from it, I guess, is really what it is. But what were you gonna say there, Big?
One observation that Choice made, we all know Choice.
Yep. Love Choice.
Is that a lot of specs kind of have had their damage shifted a bit more towards, typically most specs have like a builder and a spender. Mm-hmm. An example would be like rogues. They have combo point builders and they have spenders to spend their combo points, and every class kind of has their version of that. Mm-hmm. Where nowadays it seems like in the War Within that there's a bit more emphasis on the builders. A really good example of this is like Boomkins. Boomkins Star Surge damage feels relatively weaker, but you have a lot more damage coming from other sources, which is I think overall a good thing. I mean that makes the game less bursty and more sort of consistent. It's also been interesting to see how classes have evolved from previous iterations. Like I know a class you play, Affliction Warlock, changed sort of dramatically going into the new expansion because Shadow Bolt of all things is back. There you have so now you can, there's also the hero build where your Haunt gives you what's it called, the Shadow Bolt procs, Nightfall procs, and so you can Shadow Bolt, Haunt, Shadow Bolt people back to back, and they hit pretty hard. Like they're doing a lot of damage.
So when I was leveling around, it felt kind of like I was playing an elemental shaman, because I was getting these instant procs. So I like a dot, I'd be shadow bolting, malefic, shadow bolting, and then suddenly I'd have a malefic, and so I shadow bolt. I'd be able to double shadow bolt because I had nightfall proc, so it's back to back, and then I have an instant malefic, and I would like just delete something.
Yeah,
it was like, oh, that's what shaman felt like.
Well, you know what's ironic about that is like Ellie Shaman now is more of like an AoE spec.
Yeah.
Like in Shadowland or in Dragonflight, as an Ellie Shaman, you basically just like Lava Burst, Earthshock, Lava Burst, Earthshock, Lava Burst. Like you just spam these like over and over and over. Now you don't get as many Lava Burst procs, and you're kind of playing entirely around your big primordial wave AoE lava bursts, which means you have to keep everyone dotted. And now you have this I think you had it in the past, but now it's a more accessible on the tree of this totem called Magma Totem.
Yep.
Or Liquid Magma Totem. You throw it down and it will apply Flame Shock to I think 3 targets nearby. And so you have a lot of ways to get out your dots pretty quickly. Now as an Ellie Shaman, and you're playing around these 30-second waves where you just blast everyone with lava bursts.
Huh.
And so you're kind of more of like a dot class now.
That's not how I was playing it. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well,
no, seriously, I was playing Ellie different. So
yeah, no, they have their other hero build is focused around like chain lightning and stuff. I mean, there's still that, but that's kind of a harder play style to have in arena specifically.
I was having fun with it, but okay. But yeah, right. You are right. Is that's definitely sounds very Affliction, where it's like you dot everybody and then you do something to like just delete a bunch of their health, right? Versus now it's very much like you dot a bunch of people, but then you're like kind of single targeting. You have these procs that will just delete somebody randomly. Is very very slot machine, which sounds that's very elemental shaman. And I actually commented on a stream and I was like, this feels like so Ellie. It feels good, but I mean, whatever. I'm shadow bolting. It's shadow damage. It's fellow damage. It's it's fun. I detest the fact though is that again it's and this is that whole part of having to kite, because like if I just can't get away with Death Knight, and Death Knights will just cut me down. And I know that's their thing. Like they're supposed to be the mage killers, but having a Frost DK or an Unholy DK come at me, I just pucker up because I'm gonna be kissing dirt. Like it's do you
know what you need in your life, Garsar? You need a rogue friend.
I need a rogue and a pocket healer is what I need.
Yeah. Every caster, okay, I know I'm a rogue fanboy, but I'm a rogue fanboy for a reason. And every caster who plays with a rogue realizes how amazing it is to play with a rogue, because that DK who's tunneling you, the rogue can just stun it for you, and then then you can cast. Like that's the best part about playing with rogue. They just allow you to be a caster better than anyone else.
So what you're saying is that we need Jake to make a NA account and learn how to play rogue.
I guess so. Or Mortai. You can team up with Mortai.
Yeah, that's true. I was just trying to like get the three of us all playing together as well.
Well, I mean, you know what? We could empty the famous technically PvP coffers to pay for my subscription, so we can finally do our 3v3 team.
I'll have to open up a GoFundMe for that.
One thing I wanted to talk about was before we wrap up the subject and analysis is class balance. I think this is something important to discuss.
Everything's balanced though. What are you talking about?
Yeah. With an emphasis on solo shuffle.
Okay.
Based on what I observed on the beta, the game is actually still pretty balanced. Like there's definitely, I think the theme of the last few expansions is like everyone sort of gravitates around, or most people gravitate around the A tier, but then there's of course the outliers. So I know on the DPS side, people were pointing their fingers at Fury Warrior. I know right now is doing some incredible damage. Frost Mage is doing some incredible damage. Then on the healer side, Preservation Evoker was just like on a completely different level. They're kind of like the healer that can do everything. And so it can be quite oppressive. But then there was also sort of the classes that have been left out. One of those specs was Holy Priest. Holy Priest felt a little bit weak. It like has hints of potential, but Holy Priest is one of those healers that just like literally is determined by numbers, because that's all. Like Holy Priest is quite literally a healer. It doesn't really do anything. It's not good at mitigating damage. All it has to do is just keep a health bar topped with healing.
True.
So if those heals aren't powerful, then it's like, well, you can't really do your job. The other spec, which wasn't doing well, surprise, surprise, was Enhancement Shaman. And this got me thinking. I think it's quite clear to me now, and I want you guys' opinion on this, that there are some specs, Enhancement being one of them, that will just be, by design, never be exceptional at Solo Shuffle. Because they're missing something fundamental in their toolkit that prevents them from really having agency over the game. I mean, the thing you can clearly point to on Enhance is it lacks a Mortal Strike, and I think it has probably the worst mobility out of any melee. So it lacks mobility, doesn't have a Mortal Strike. Of course, it's super disruptive. It has all this utility, but its utility is kind of tied into off healing, which gets worse and dampening. The defensives are kind of tied to healing as well. So I think structurally, Enhance is never going to be higher than like A tier. I mean, if it even gets to A tier, that's really lucky.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that there are just some specs that people, will kind of have to accept are never going to be exceptional in Arena just because of these fundamental problems they have?
I think, yeah. Well, so Gareth, I think you go first, actually.
Okay, I think yes and no. I think every spec has its own place in different game modes, though, right? Like if you're talking just strictly in Solo Shuffle, then yes, Enhancement does have some issues there. Again, and I want to add on also the fact that it's a male melee, so it's in the scrum with plate wearers, so there's that as well. So it's taking more damage to what it's dealing out to plate wearers, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to say Enhancement kind of it was kind of like the original augmentation, like it was original support, really, because a lot of its stuff was also to support other people, right? Such as like, because it would enhance your warrior friend. So while you're trying to double damage and do a bunch of damage, you drop down your stuff and you're enhancing the warrior, and they're doing more stuff as well, right? So in that, if you're talking just Solo Shuffle where there's no real coordination, then yes, it's going to suffer. But I feel like it should still be very successful in threes, and it can be very successful even in like solo RBGs or solo and other like BG content and that, where you're getting very coordinated. And if you have somebody that's truly exceptional with and knows real in-depth knowledge of the class, then I think they should still be able to succeed with it, which is different than somebody who is just following the flavor of the month and able to pick something up because it has some broken mechanic and they're able to exploit that. If you're specifically looking at just, and you only want to play this one game mode, if you only want to play Solo Shuffle, then yes, I feel you are going to be relegated to only playing a certain select number of classes to really succeed if you really want to get some exceptional rating, because of exactly, it's uncoordinated, it's very random. You need to be able to kind of carry yourself and others, and if you're really lucky, you end up with others that are also playing those S tier and really high A tier classes and specs, and so then you can truly shine. But at the flip side, that's for that one round, and the next round you're up against those people, right? So it becomes tit for tat, and so that, I think that the way Solo Shuffle is very unique. So to answer your question, yes, no, maybe, kind of, sort of, depends, and really it comes down to what game mode you're trying to play and why.
I think it's I think that's kind of a I feel like that's quite a good way of kind of describing a lot of the issues that we've kind of got, I think, with class design. The key point for me was when Rhett got redesigned. It sort of dealt with a lot of the major issues that Rhett had, which was that it was a wheelchair spec. Like, it was a freedom bot that would just run at things and do damage, but then obviously you could kite it really hard. So they gave it a little bit more range in the same way that they gave rogues, like outlaw rogues, a bit more range, and they gave ferals a little bit more range, or druids in general a little bit more range, which kind of helped with keeping on targets, not being kited out too much. Sort of made the kind of gameplay very fluid. And I think something like Enhance just needs a rework, really. It's very outdated in how it works. I think the best iteration of Enhance Shaman I've ever played is Season of Discovery Enhance, because yeah, no, legit, because of the way that this kind of spec works and how damage works and how it all puts together is actually incredibly fun. And bear in mind, I played Enhance during WoD as well, so where it was like the most elite spec. I think it's just, you're looking for gameplay that's quite fun to do, and I think as a concept, Enhance has kind of lost what it was and why it was so good. You know, stuff like Wrath, for example, where the rotation felt really great and you were doing lots of damage and everything seemed to work together. I think there needs to be a flow that kind of returns to it. So I personally think these specs that kind of, yeah, you know what, actually, a lot of them are going to be dog water and they're not going to really ever really be good in the kind of modern iteration of WoW. But they could be if they got a little rework. And I think that's kind of where the game needs to start looking towards, is kind of, okay, let's rework specs, or, you know, or kind of classes in general. I think personally specs, but specs and that need the help, you know. And I think Enhance is one of those ones that's just been kind of left. I think Shamans in general have been kind of left out to dry for quite a while. Maybe Shamans in general like need a sort of rework, but
this had a pseudo rework for War Within. I think Enhancement was just kind of left alone, though. Didn't they actually say that they felt that it was in a good place? That's why.
I mean, they've said a lot of things, in all honesty, where I disagree massively.
Yeah,
but that's fine. It's their vision, and we kind of just play it.
What would you guys think if Elemental, or no, if Enhancement Shaman ended up becoming more of like a melee augmenter, like a melee support class?
Yeah, I mean,
well, my take on that is that would make things worse. I think augmentation, my feel about augmentation is that you're entirely at the whim of your partner in solo shuffle. You don't really have any direct agency over the outcome of the game. You're just there to buff your teammate, which can feel a bit bad. You know, I think especially in a solo game mode, you want to feel like you can impact the game and have like a tangible, like sensible impact on the game. You know, like a rogue winning the game with smoke bomb. That, you know, you feel that if you're the rogue. Augmentation, you don't really feel yourself winning. You know, of course, you contribute to the game. You contribute to winning. You might, you know, get a big crit every now and then, but you're kind of just tethered to the strength of your partner. So if your partner's not doing what they're supposed to, you're just going to have a really bad time. And I think augmentation also meshes better with some specs rather than others. You know, if you can play with like a big brawler melee who can just pump damage, I think Aug is going to feel really good. But if you're playing with, I don't know, something like a BM Hunter, which can't really pump that much, you know, it doesn't have super bursty damage, it's not going to feel very fun. So I think for an enhance to like truly feel good, yeah, maybe you could give it some more support tools, but I think it needs to be able to end the game to truly feel like enjoyable. And that's kind of been a problem I think that has plagued Enhance for quite a while, is it doesn't really feel like it can end the game. You know,
Yeah,
you need
yeah,
a
I get
stun, you need an MS, you need something. You need those sorts of tools.
Yeah, you need to execute in that.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. So I kind of think like I wouldn't mind seeing another support class, but I get it. Like if you want us to talk just strictly to solo shuffle, support doesn't feel good in solo shuffle just because, like you said, like you're not impacting that. I would counter that there's some people out there that they don't want to have that. Like they don't have to have the need to be like yay, I was the one that got the goal. Like they're more than happy to be the defense person sitting in the back lines, just making sure that the ball doesn't leave that end. You know what I mean? Or whatever's happening. Like there's people that are happy to be the support and know that they supported the team. So I guess I mean, maybe it's just a different mindset. You just have to find the people that have that mindset. But then you are, like you said, you're stuck to the quality of the player that you're randomly tied to, and that can feel bad sometimes when your personal rating is tied to the quality of the player you're tied to.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe should they just delete solo shuffle then and just go back to 2s and 3s? Maybe, I don't know.
No, I think Solo Shuffle is good. It's just it's an interesting. I think personally, Solo Shuffle is the is really like the streamer's paradise. Like that's what it is. For regular people, it's rough because let's face it, I don't particularly want to spend my entire night waiting for a Solo Shuffle queue to pop. However, on a counterpoint to that, you don't want to be spending your entire night looking for a teammate, you know?
Yeah.
So I understand why it's so popular and actually so good. Mm-hmm. And I think it does have a strong value now in our community. And I think it will continue to get stronger as time goes on.
Yeah.
Which will be really good. But it needs this kind of thing. I think just it's actually probably one of the most important brackets now.
So
realistically,
I have a question. To you mentioned that Solo Shuffle is like the streamer's paradise. Maybe it's like in some weird way the PvPer's paradise. The arena player's paradise. Yeah. So I saw a tweet. It might have been from Mortai, I don't remember, saying that with the introduction of Battleground Blitz, that now normal BGs feel too slow.
I've seen that from a number of people, and I agree.
Yes. So, is Battleground Blitz the BG killer? Question mark. Is that our takeaway from that? Like, what? How should we expect the future? Do we now think that we're now in a solo game mode of BG Blitz and Solo Shuffle? Is group content now finally dead?
So yes, no, and kinda. So I think Epic PGs are, I know I'm all over the place, guys. So Epic PGs are going to maintain because there's these huge communities that just like to do pre-mades and run into and Q-Sync into Epic PGs. So I think those are still going to exist. I think a number of people are probably going to get, who aren't part of those communities, they're already tired with running into these groups and the impact it has on the Epic PGs. So that's probably going to shrink. I think random BGs will probably still have some place, but you're probably going to see a smaller player pool, and queues are going to increase. Rated solo BGs like the Battleground Blitz is, I think, going to become the go-to, not because people actually want to always play that, but because that's where the queues are. And so I think people would rather queue that and sit in a 6-minute queue than queue for something else and sit in a 12-minute queue.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
It's no different than there's some people who actually don't like Solo Shuffle, but there's nobody left in LFG because everybody's queuing Solo Shuffle because that's where everybody went.
I think the thing is that what needs to happen, I think this will happen eventually, is that people need to start messaging people in Solo Shuffle. Like, you queue with someone that you think is actually played that really well. Like, hey, do you want to just queue some 3s off this? Yeah, sure, why not? I think that needs to be a thing. Like the LFG is kind of almost replaced by actually, you know what, I found someone I really like playing with in solo queue. And it's the same with almost any other game, right? Like any other game where, you know, you have a solo queue variant, you kind of meet someone that you think is really sick and you play into them and actually, oh, you were really good. Let's queue something up afterwards. Like same with League. Like when you play League, if you have someone on your team that actually does a really good job, you add them afterwards and you go, hey, let's do some duo queue together because you played really well. And that's how you make friends.
But I'm not hearing people do that though. Like I'm not hearing people making teams out of solo queues. People say thanks for the game and they drop and then they queue up again, but they don't make friends. The only conversations that are happening is maybe, hey, you did something really cool there, but most of it's, you know, it's shit talk.
No, I agree. I think that it's something that will eventually change and kind of become a thing at some point, but it's not happening now. But it does happen in higher rating. Like those people up at the top of the ladder do actually know each other and do actually kind of like, okay, yeah, I've played with you before. You're quite hard. Let me queue. I mean, an example of that is Nethy, who has been on the podcast a few times. Pretty much how they found their teams and stuff has been through playing high-rated solo shuffle. That has led to, you know, come, why don't you come play with us? And eventually those contacts have led on to bigger contacts and allowed them to kind of pretty much take part in all the kind of bigger and more kind of prestigious sort of teams and eventually play in the AWC and actually, you know, get into the top 8 and stuff. So it's that opportunity came from just being good at solo shuffle. So I feel as if like people can start doing that. We just kind of need to lead the way and talk about it more openly, I think, in the community.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense. I guess I was just I think that's like one example of somebody that did good and was able to do good versus some of the others that I remember tweeting about that and trying to get a poll, and I didn't get a very good feel that people were actually making friends out of solo queue. It was just, you know, maybe a GG and then move on to the next.
I mean, most of the time, yes. That's what I'm trying to think. I think it needs to come from those in the community to kind of go, it's cool to do this. That's how you meet people. Like someone makes a video on it, for example, and goes like, I made friends through solo shuffle, and then other people start making friends through solo shuffle.
Yeah, one thing, this is like a pet peeve of mine. I really don't like when I'm watching a streamer and they start flaming their solo shuffle lobby. Right. I don't like that at all. I mean, maybe, you know, content brain. I think it's maybe fun for the people to watch that. You know, it's seeing like a mental breakdown is kind of fun, I guess. But I think it's up to streamers to set the example and, you know, be good role models. I mean, my ethic has always been solo shuffle. Do not say a word about anyone or to anyone. You know, I'm just there to press the buttons, okay? Like, I don't want to start any drama. I'm just literally here to press the buttons.
And there's a number of players that just turn off chat. Like, they have add-ons and whatever. Like, they just ignore chat because of what happened early in solo shuffle and just out of concern of toxicity and whatnot. So that's...
Yeah. Smart idea, to be honest. I mean, I do that in League just for the same reason, is that all chat is terrible. And sometimes if you just don't want to get a reaction or to kind of you yourself react to something like that, then it actually works out really well to kind of just turn things off and just focus on the game, focus on playing.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. If only there was like something like a social contract that people would be held to.
Yeah, actually held to.
Actually held to. I just want to circle back quickly on gearing. There's something that we kind of skipped over, and that was sockets. So obviously, yes, so we have honor gear and conquest gear, which has a majority of stats, but it won't have all the combinations. You'll have the war mode gear and the epic war mode gear, which will cover off on some of those. So the war mode gear is through just world quests, it seems like, and you can also get some currencies there that you can purchase items from the war mode vendor, and that's going to be the epic level stuff. And then we also have the the crafting, I don't want to call them sparks, but they're not, but whatever it is, to take crafted gear and make it for PvP. And there's some currency there. I think there's like currency that drops from doing PvP that you can actually auction house. I'm seeing some stuff about that as well, so people are making a bunch of money there. And then there's sockets. So previously we had to use the vault to get coins to then get sockets on our PvP gear. Now you can get the socket from a vendor for a bunch of honor and a couple gems, which also cost quite a bit of honor. So I will say that's a bit of an honor grind. It was pointed out that you can get it from a box, the Unbound Spoils, which seem to appear in the free-for-all areas during the world quests. So they spawn about every 3 hours, and if you can loot the box, then you have a chance of getting a socket from those. And I will also note, so this might have been a sharding thing, but when I was out on the Isle of Dorn last night, flying around with war mode on, the helicopter, the war chest, dropped twice in 15 minutes as well. So I didn't check it for longer than that, but those were dropping about every hour on the hour in Dragonflight, so they may have increased in frequency, and that could have been just sharding. I don't know, but I just want to point that out. Okay.
Yeah.
Future content. What do you guys think we're going to see?
Oh, you know what? Actually, for once, I actually don't really know what we're going to see. I mean, this is the first time in a while I'm actually interested to see how the story progresses, because I like the idea of where they're going with this, and I know obviously it's going to move on to like a trilogy. There's going to be 2 other expansions that are going to follow the same pathway. So I'm intrigued to see where the story takes us and what we kind of discover and everything, and where we go. I think it would be. I don't think there'll be much PvP wise. I don't think there'll be any real changes. I'm hoping that next expansion will get like a void related arena, which should be sick. That'd be something really cool. That's the only thing I can really think about in terms of actual content, outside of kind of, the usual sort of flow of things. We'll get another zone. There'll be another place that we go to that's connected to the other ones, and we'll get the final boss. I don't know who the final boss will be. It might be Xalatath. Be quite interesting to see if it is Xalatath. But I imagine it will be Xalatath at the end of the War Within, and then that will lead on to whatever the enemies are. But it's quite an interesting, I think, a really interesting time period, because this is the first time, at least from the story perspective, where it ages actually really since War and Legion, that you've got this continuous enemy that's appeared that kind of spreads over, to multiple different expansions. I mean, Xalatath herself appears in Legion, and obviously has kind of been a sort of central theme in the dagger that appears in BFA, and then comes back in Dragonflight, and it kind of spread over, and then is going to be kind of appearing in the next 3 expansions. So hopefully we see more of her, and actually she continues to be a problem and a thorn in our side throughout the entirety of it. But
I hate to crush you, it's in chat already, but Metzin did say that she's not going to be the baddie for 3 expansions.
Okay, well then she's definitely dead at the end of this one, that's for sure. So
she might,
I mean, big sad.
She might last beyond this one, but she definitely won't make it through the 3. So
should be like Sylvanas, I guess. Sylvanas wasn't the big bad of Shadowlands, even though she caused it all. So
I feel like Xalatath is being built up where maybe, like, she seems so slippery that maybe she won't, like, I feel like she'll definitely last through a couple raids. Will she make it to the end of the War Within? I'm not sure. Who knows? Maybe the end is we cut her feet off and turn them into a trophy.
The ultimate trophy, the trophy.
Yeah, the trophy.
One might say. But in terms of actual content, I don't personally see anything that's coming. That's going to happen in the next sort of.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. How about you, Big? You think we'll see anything more, PvP wise for content?
I'm gonna give a really hot take. I could see Blizzard bringing back some form of borrowed power potentially in the future. I don't want to say that they're gonna do it, but I wouldn't be surprised. And the reason I say that is because well, if they do a season 4 again, which we all know season 4 is kind of like, I wouldn't say a flop, but it's didn't feel that fun. But maybe they'll do some sort of borrowed power extravaganza for season 4 where we're all running around with legendaries or God knows artifact traits, something. We're gonna have something on our gear in season 4 that's gonna make it kind of wild, because I think they want players to, they like that retention, and I could see them implementing some form of a grind again for the end game.
Maybe.
We'll see. I mean, I've seen mixed thoughts. I didn't like borrowed power, to be honest, but I know some people did, some ironically, so
I mean,
don't know.
So let's say the honor talents. Like, are the honor talents going to stick around, or are they just going to be borrowed power and they're going to disappear? Right? Like, I don't know. It's kind of, yeah. We'll see. I don't like borrowed power only because it's only there for the expansion. It's only there for the patch, or it's only there for the expansion, right? Then it disappears, and you feel weaker. You feel like you lost it. Right? Maybe you get like the one cool ability, and that gets baked in, but I don't know.
No. I'm changing my prediction.
Okay.
Maybe we're gonna see a third Demon Hunter spec this expansion. Do you think?
Okay, I think
is that possible?
Let's get borrowed power back on the table. I'm gonna say I think so. I have noticed. I think the last arena we got was the one from Shadowlands, right? We didn't get any in Dragonflight. No, sorry, we did. Sorry, what am I talking about? We got No Good Offensive, right? Or the No Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can see why you forgot, because it's god awful.
Yeah, well, it depends. Some people liked it. No, not really. So I wouldn't mind. I wonder if we're going to see another arena put in this expansion, maybe in one of the later patches. And I haven't seen any new brawls added. Like, obviously they did brawls for the solo shuffle, and they did brawls for BG Blitz, but that was just for testing to see how people reacted to that, and use that brawl system to just do that and really pull people in to get the testing done. I wouldn't mind them taking some of the arenas that they have, or some of the new BGs. Yes, just the one they just added, but still, and kind of maybe brawlify it, like make a brawl out of it. So I guess kind of leaning on your idea, yes, we have this major thing of shadows. So where like Arathi Basin, they have the blizzard one where it's all snow, and you have kind of like a fog of war. You really don't see anything coming until it's right on top of you. So I'm wondering if the Deep Hall Ravine could be like shadowfied, where it just has a bunch, it's been darkened, and so you're running around, but you really don't see people until you're like right on top of them, and do that. And I don't know, just throwing it out there. So I think, I don't know, do you guys want to do the one thing we changed on top of that, or do you want to just move on to news?
Well, maybe why don't we make it spicy? Okay. Why don't we do the one thing you change with for the War Within? All right. Like specifically the War Within.
The War Within. The one thing we would change. All right. Do you have one on top of your head? Because I feel like you're biting on the bit to spit something.
Well, to be honest with you, actually, I think for me, with the War Within, I think it's got so much coverage recently. I think it's the ideal time to kind of make, we have AWC, but kind of really push for community driven. Like, I feel like, and this is no shade on anyone, I think this would be a perfect opportunity for Adrian, for Healing Stat, to kind of go out there and reach out to people that have hosted community tournaments and go, we're going to inject some money into you. You can say that this is kind of like a sort of an outside sort of Blizzard. This is kind of like a Blizzard supported, a kind of Blizzard endorsed kind of event, but we'll kind of like host you on the channel, and kind of like, or kind of restream it or something like that, give you the sort of, I don't know, the kind of viewership that you need, and just kind of drive more PvP tournaments. I think like this is the ideal time for it. Like bring back some of the older names like Soda Pop and people, get them in tournaments, do kind of these sort of things, do community based things. Like the variety show is great, but sort of like help out the grassroots people that are kind of like, you know, for us, for example, when we did our little tournament, that was super fun.
Yeah.
But imagine if like Blizzard kind of came out and said, look, you know, we'll give you guys like, you know, 15 minutes on us, like to talk to like Zico and Ven and kind of get some advice from them on like how to cast or anything like that. And they'll have a look at your stuff and like give you a little bit of feedback, and hopefully it will help out. And then also restream, like do that kind of thing. Like it's not going to really hurt anyone. It's just sort of like, it's kind of adding to their marketability, but also keeping their player base really happy. And I think that'd be a really cool idea to kind of help those grassroots movements. And that would be the one thing I'd change, specifically to do with the War Within.
I love it. I would love to see that. I'd love to see that community support come out just as much as the community managers have been supporting content creators recently with the WoW partner stuff.
Exactly.
All right. Big. What's the one thing you would change it within the war?
I would love to see another solo shuffle tournament, and I don't know how they'd do this, but I'd love to see a Battleground Blitz tournament. That'd be really exciting. Yeah, I think, as Jake said, now's a really good time to get eyes on the game, and there's these incredible game modes that a lot of people enjoy. And I personally thought the solo shuffle tournament was the best Blizzard tournament. You know, I as much as I like the AWC, you know, Sea-Doo and Waz, and you know, watching Peekaboo play with his team, like, something about the solo shuffle tournament was so exciting, just because it was so random, and you know, you got to see a lot of different perspectives, players you don't typically think about were doing really well, and so it was fun. Do it again.
Well, and you see comps you would never see in the AWC.
Yes, of course, yeah.
I've always enjoyed the, like, obviously Blizzard and the way they do things is very professional, very clean, but also the community run solo shuffles are also really good. So I think for me, the one thing I would change, you know, for the War Within, this is hard because I don't have an experience with it yet to say I want to change something or not change something. I think the only thing I have a concern with is that there's some massive server lags, and I've noticed that when I go to loot things, I have my auto loot on, and it still doesn't pick up. So like, you know, when I click on something, I start to run away, and I should have picked it up, and it's still there shiny, or you know, or if I'm fishing, you know, that fish that I just caught doesn't actually go in my bag; it disappears because I cast to, you know, whatever. So there's some server lag there. I've also noticed that in some of the servers at various times, it just gets like super bogged down as like a second. Like I literally click something or press an ability, and it takes a second before it actually goes off, which is unfortunate. So I feel like there's something there in the server side that needs to be fixed, and that's I guess the only thing I would change is I wish they'd just like maybe upgrade the servers or something. I don't know what it is, but do something to fix that stuff. Yeah, that's about all I'm gonna have to come up with right now. Oh, and I hear Big Macs in the back of my brain, a marksman hunter talent to turn off AOE from the hero talents. Sorry, that's if anybody,
I think that's ideal.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, go check out Big Max's stream or his tweets, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, news, into the news.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
Yes, extra large can of whoop ass. I'm having a hard time to talk all of a sudden. Hey, Big Donny Cal did his tournament there. Finally got it done on. Oh, sorry, not finally. So it was delayed a couple times, but he was able to get it put together and got enough people. And he did it on the 17th of August. So if anybody wants, head on over to his stream. He is extremely energetic, I will say, and actually a pleasure to listen to casting the matches. It's it's a little different. I'll say that only because he has a bit of an accent. But you just if you're expecting to hear like Van or Supa or Zico, do not expect that from Donnie. I'll just say that.
What kind of accent are you talking about, Gareth? I feel like, yeah.
It's of European descent. I'll just say that.
European descent. All right, I see.
Anyways.
You mean northern English?
Yes. He's a pleasure though, absolute pleasure. And quick shout out to I believe he said Noodle was who won. I have a link to his tweet where he did a highlights of the event. And I think it was pretty much the last few duels. But huge congrats to those people. Hot fixes. There's been a number of hot fixes coming out recently, which of course you'd expect. There's been a bunch of bugs and stuff. So I'm gonna Big. I know you track hot fixes and bugs and all the tweaks pretty good. Anything jump out at you? Anything new?
There actually wasn't that many. I guess there were some PvP hotfixes on August 22nd. Some rogue nerfs or some rogue buffs. Buffs and nerfs, both. That's I haven't really been paying attention too much. There hasn't been that many hotfixes for. I mean, there's been tuning on the beta, but it wasn't like hotfixes. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Looks like rogues were changed recently.
There was that. There was on. This was like, I think it was after our last podcast, but before this one. But just in season 4, the rated battleground blitz. When they implemented Rado solo BGs, the shield of protection was scaling a little bit high. So they fixed that. So hopefully, when it comes back here in season 1, that'll be fixed. It'll be fine. We'll see. But kudos to them for being super reactive on that. I know there's a bunch of people that pointed out on social media, and I'm assuming there's some bug submissions in game as well. So I think that was also important. But you're right. Yeah, Rogue got some tuning, and I think they did some stuff in Season of Discovery as well. But I can't say that necessarily that was PvP centric. It seems to be more PvE side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So okay, yeah, and then the rest is just some bug stuff that they're finding as people point stuff out. So, alrighty, okay, and Jake, did you catch the Warcast there that they did with Morgan Day?
You know what? I actually didn't. I didn't at all.
Guys, you're killing me.
I know. No, genuinely, it's so bad because obviously the last week and the last kind of couple of months have sort of been, well, not last couple of months, the last couple of weeks have been incredibly busy for me. I've sort of actually almost just taken a full, like actually genuinely a full break away from WoW. So I'm really sad to have missed the interview with Morgan Day. Obviously, I saw the interview with, I think it was Morgan Day at LFG London. Mm-hmm. I know that was quite a while ago, but they did a little interview with Morgan Day there.
They did, yes,
which was quite nice. But no, I didn't see the recent one. No, sadly.
Sorry. Oh wait, well, so this
did you
one,
see it?
Yeah, I did catch it on YouTube. I watched a bit of it. Pretty good conversation, pretty good information. Typical, it's the community manager Linksy talking with some people. She does a really good job of talking with them, and they have a pretty good job of explaining what they want to highlight and put out there, which I think makes sense. It's more focused and make sure that they put out the messages that they want instead of waiting for the content creator to ask the question that they said they were going to ask, or at the end of it, it's like, well, I just want to really say this one thing to make sure it's out there. So it makes sense. The one thing that was noted, and they started talking about the PvP stuff, and Morgan Day did talk to, again, highlighting that the solo RBG experience was becoming, and the fact that apparently he apparently has been queuing no voice YOLOs for who knows how long, and so that's been his jam. And so I guess no surprise, solo RBGs is going to be his jam now, so he doesn't have to actually worry about any of that stuff. And there was another interview with Marcellian, So he actually had an interview with Ian Cohosts and asked a few PvP questions, and that one was pretty good as well. Ultimately, it was just more so talking about gearing and where we're going to see gearing going, which I think we did a pretty good job talking about here. And we may see some more itemization coming down the road, if I'm not mistaken, from how Ian was talking. But for the most part, it seems like they're pretty happy with where gearing is right now for PvP.
I'd say gearing for PvP is actually in probably one of the best places it's been in a very long time. So I'm happy to say I do agree with them. I think it makes life easier. I know there are people that actually do complain about the PvP gearing. They're like, oh, it's so much easier to, because you can bottom reroll very easily with the way that the gearing works.
Fair.
Like you can get,
yeah.
So I understand it. Like I get why they would say that, but at the same time, like it just means that when you play stuff, you have a much better time with your gearing. Like I'd much rather be able to re-roll my character and actually have fun in the game than not,
Yeah. I think I like the fact that gearing is really easy, not because of the bottom rerollers, but because if, let's say, you want to play around and mess with stat weights, let's say you want to go from a full mastery build to a full haste build, it doesn't take you weeks. Right? You're not. Yeah. It's not detrimental to you in a game where, or a game mode where that would actually cause some damage to your personal rating. Just trying to farm that and then change it over and figure it all and test it and figure it all out. Like that's just all right. So a couple of the last items, I'll just speak to this one. So our friend Cherry, the community manager or the creator of the Oasis community. So we've talked to her before and highlighted her a number of times. She was very into PvP. She took a little bit of a break and started doing a bunch of PvE stuff. So Mythic Plus and raiding and that, especially in Dragonflight, Shadowlands, Dragonflight. And now she's apparently coming back to PvP. And on top of that, she was the original creator for the Rated Battleground guide that ended up on Wowhead. And now that we have BG Blitz, she created another guide. So if anybody wants, we have a link for that in the show notes. It's also been distributed a number of times out there. So just really want to highlight, if you're looking to get into the solo RPG system and you like to read things to make sure you have the knowledge and understand the maps and how they're being played, because they are different from the other BG modes, definitely give this a read. Talks from some of the most basic level to some more advanced techniques that you can think about and have fun. Enjoy that. And I guess one other item. Markers.
I have news to add.
Oh.
There's someone on Reddit posted this website. I don't know how they got this URL, but there's a convenient URL called gladpush.gg.
Oh.
I'll link it in the show notes.
Yes, please.
And
okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of a simple website right now, but you can click the left side of the screen. You get this diminishing return matrix where you can enter the comp you're playing against, and you can figure out exactly what CCDRs that comp has. And then there's also a diminishing returns game you can play where you can test your knowledge, which is actually pretty hard. It's a very difficult game. It's 10 questions. I think the last time I played it, I got 7 right out of 10. So, I scored a C. Cool. It's pretty crazy, this game. So, yeah, it's a fun little website. Definitely check it out, especially if you're learning the game. Fun.
Indeed. No, thank you. I saw that and I meant to. I forgot to add it in. So, thank you for that, Big. You're awesome. Yeah. I will say, if anybody goes to it, it's a work in progress. It's still in development. So don't expect a fully polished product. If you find anything wrong with it or any hiccups, let the developer know and they'll fix it too. But yeah, gladpush.gg. Okay, and the last one I was going to bring up was so apparently some people figured out a workaround for getting tinker slots from the Mop remix back into the War Within. So that was a little detrimental, but I think they fixed it now. So maybe it's old news. But if anybody's wondering what happened when Mop Remix ended and they moved everybody's characters over to retail, apparently somebody figured out that you could go through the go get your gear again. You know, if you like actually delete gear, whatever your item restoration, and they could get these items back and then put them back on the gear, and then just obliterate people with some broken stuff. So yeah, that's a thing. But I think it's fixed. Maybe chat can confirm for me.
They added a bunch of PvP modifiers to the old stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
so
fixed.
hopefully I'd rather they just ban the people for doing something they shouldn't do. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Ooh, gosh.
5 day suspension. It's still preseason. It's like whatever, right? It's not it. Yeah. Okay. That's about it for the news that we have. I think I'm gonna go to you, Big. Do you have any shout-outs?
Shoutouts.
Shout-outs.
I always need to think for a second.
Okay, Jake.
Who deserves my shout out? Yeah, go to Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a nice easy one. I really want to shout out all the developers and the GMs and the people that have kind of led this to be quite a successful expansion launch. I think I know the early access has some sort of questionable things about it, but actually it's been very smooth. It's been nothing but brilliant. No issues at all. I think they've cracked it. Once again, innovating in a field that they've always been innovators in. So I really think they've done a fantastic job, and it's all that hard work that they put in and all the kind of concepts and ideas. So big shout out to you guys.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's a good one. Big, back to you.
I don't even know. I don't know.
All right.
Shout out yourself.
Wait. Shout out my cat. My cat has had very good behavior the past few days. Hasn't woken me up in the middle of the night like he typically does. So shout out to my cat, Olive. He's been very good.
Good cat. Good mew.
Good cat.
Good cat. That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna give a shout out to some of the folks over on the World of PvP Discord. We haven't talked about them for a while, but specifically Machiavelli and Linkson for reaching out to me and just all concerned about one of the tweets I made, just making sure that I was okay, and just hoping that there was no negative aftermath from one of my hot takes that I put out there on Twitter. So just a quick shout out to them for that. Anyway, okay, Big. Aside from you telling everybody about your cat, can you maybe list off where our listeners can reach us?
Yes, I can. You can contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord.
Mm-hmm. And you can also visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so please do head over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. And as always, links are going to be in the show notes for everything we talked about tonight. I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.